The Constitutional Court has spent the day hearing an urgent application lodged by the Mkhonto Party to have President Cyril Ramaphosa reverse decisions to put the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence, appoint Professor Firoz Cachalia as acting minister, and establish a Judicial Commission of Inquiry.
MK Party legal counsel advocate Dali Mpofu outlined various legalities, saying Ramaphosa has no constitutional power to place a minister on special leave.
The purported reason, actually the only reason given in the announcement made by the President for placing Minister Mchunu on leave was to make the commission to be more effective, or words to that effect. I'll come to that in detail right now. And a generous interpretation of the leave of absence decision would be that, because we asked the rhetorical question, leave of absence pending what? And supposedly the most generous answer that one could give is that it's pending the commission. So the commission becomes central. Now, we would like to then move on to the issue of, which is going to be central to this matter. That's the issue of the leave of absence. Why is that central? Remember the issue about the interplay between the decisions. So that decision is central in the sense that in relation to the acting minister stroke Cachalia decision, it is purportedly, well, put it this way, there would have been no need to appoint acting minister Cachalia if the leave of absence decision had not been taken. Or, to put it differently, had that decision not been taken, then the President would have been free to appoint Professor Cachalia as a minister. That's self-evident. So that's the centrality of that decision. On the other hand, as I've already said, its relationship to the commission is that presumably, my learned friends I'm sure are going to argue this, presumably the leave of absence decision is pending the commission. We will go as far as to say, Justices, that if we are correct that the President, and we are convinced that we are correct on this, does not have the constitutional power to place a minister on leave of absence. If we're correct, for a minute, let's just assume we're correct on that.
Let's get you more on that Constitutional Court case. Bring in SABC News senior reporter Kenny Mapanga, who's with me here on set now. Kenny, let's go back a few steps for those of us just catching up with the story. So, advocates Katz and Mpofu spent a great deal of time today basically arguing around whether the President, in terms of his powers in the Mchunu matter, had only one of two options. Yeah. Do nothing or fire him, and that there's no in-between, which is the issue around the leave and whether that's even the right language for it.
Yes, indeed. Well, there are three related decisions that the former President Jacob Zuma and the MK Party were challenging relating to this issue of the leave of absence. It's the leave of absence itself, and then the appointment of the Professor Cachalia as the acting police minister, then of course the establishment of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry. The applicants were seeking to invalidate that decision, stating that it was unlawful and irrational and that the President did not enjoy the powers to make the decision that he made with respect to the police minister. Now, we know that the president enjoys several powers in the constitution with respect to the handling of the ministers. While it is not expressed, we do have counsel, at least on behalf of the respondents, stating that it is an implied power. And I think the difficulty with the issue of the police minister is that, unlike the instance of the deputy minister, that is, or former deputy minister Andrew Whitfield, which the applicants draw that comparison to state that the president acted quite decisively or quickly on that issue and exercised his powers as he is afforded without giving an explanation. The difficulty there, the respondents are raising, and I think the judges also raised this particular question, is that here you're dealing with allegations that have not yet been tested, and they're quite serious allegations.
Criminal allegations, in essence, right?
So the president's thought process is to follow a rational process, and by that he means that instead of dismissing somebody on allegations that still need to be tested, and there's a possibility that he could be vindicated in that particular process, the correct process that he chose to follow in terms of his wide discretion was to grant the leave of absence pending the determination of this issue. And I think in papers it went into great detail, not so much in this hearing, that he felt that to protect the integrity and of the South African police services and law enforcement agencies in general, he felt that the acting appointment needed to come outside of the cabinet, not within the cabinet, as we've seen applicants argue that the Constitution only allows him to appoint or reassign through his own cabinet, not through an outsider, if we could term it that way.
In the form of Professor Cachalia, right?
Yeah.
And on Professor Cachalia, there was also a great deal of time spent on his start date. 1st of August is when he will then have officially retired from his work at Wits University and act in the role of police minister. And we're now seeing a back and forth in terms of the significance of that in the process and whether now is the time to challenge it or perhaps do so retrospectively.
Well, I think it is an urgent issue because of the timeline you're looking at, but I don't think that process can stop now unless there is a court order to that effect that would invalidate that process. But we do understand from the arguments today where they argue that it was premature to discuss this issue, that the president actually hasn't put it in writing yet, so the appointment isn't final
He hasn't
yet.
even been sworn in, right?
Yes, so we'll see when the presidency deals with this issue, whether that appointment will begin on the 1st of August or not. But from the arguments that we saw in court was that it was a bit premature because the president hadn't put it in writing yet. So with that, we don't know what the status of that is yet, but we know that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry that will be chaired by what will be the retired Justice Madlanga. He hangs up his robes tomorrow, and we expect that once he's hung up his robes, that he will start with his process quite quickly to investigate those serious allegations made by the Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. And of course, they've been given 6 months to do so. The applicants are challenging whether that is even possible or if it will achieve the desired end and if it will waste taxpayers' money or not. That's part of the arguments that was brought forth regarding invalidating that Commission of Inquiry. But we'll see when that process begins. So we know at least one of those decisions are seeing implementation. We're not clear yet on the final appointment, putting it in writing. And then, of course, the court must now deal with this question at the heart of it is when the president took those related decisions regarding this situation he was confronted with, where you have a police minister facing quite serious allegations. Was the process rational? And was it lawful? And
to what extent is the legal team for President Ramaphosa hoping that the issue of jurisdiction might ultimately result in the Constitutional Court saying, well, actually, we're generally the court of last resort, so this is not where you should be. Maybe a high court would be more appropriate.
Yes. Well, when you approach the Constitutional Court first, as your court of first instance, if we could put it that way, you have to engage that particular court's exclusive jurisdiction. The applicants are arguing that because it deals with the president's failure to, or alleged failure to uphold those constitutional obligations that are put on him by the Constitution, that the Constitutional Court is directly engaged on this particular issue. But of course, the respondents argue that it has nothing to do with the Constitutional Court and has no jurisdiction, and that they had the perfect avenue to approach the High Court first and establish the issues there prior to jumping straight to the Constitutional Court to remedy this issue.
And briefly, Kenny, Judicial Commission of Inquiry, even that's become contentious because members of the judiciary, according to Mkhwanazi's allegations, might be implicated. It has been an issue, even in general conversation. What other options do the applicants, the president, think, or do the applicants think the president should have exercised then in trying to get to the bottom of the truth?
Well, they bring up constitutionally mandated bodies like the Magistrates Commission and the JSC, but the argument again there is that the judiciary features quite prominently in those bodies as well. If there's a tribunal that the JSC recommends, 2 judges will sit on that tribunal together with a member of the legal profession. So it's unclear as to what point was being driven home there by stating that just because the judiciary was allegedly implicated in these allegations by the Lieutenant General, that now they can't preside over issues that deal directly with that as an institution, not as an individual,
right,
but as an institution. But that's when Justice Majid brought up that question of if that is the principle that's being argued here, then why is this matter before this panel of judges as we speak right now? So that's the arguments regarding that particular issue, that there's the JSC. And I think the further question that was made to counsel is, do you then remove the judicial officers from the bodies to complete the task? And I think the answer was yes to that point. So those were the arguments that were advanced regarding that particular issue.
Okay.
Of course, judgment was reserved. It's quite a complex issue which the Constitutional Court will have to apply its mind on and, of course, give their determination once it's ready.
Kenny, thank you very much. Kenny is SABC News, a senior reporter who's tracking the story for you around the Constitutional Court hearings on the President's decisions following those corruption and interference allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Dali Mpofu.